Top story tonight, GB News exclusive. We've now discovered that there's been a huge increase in illegal migrants working in the delivery sector. Long story short, what happens, it seems, is that people, legitimate riders and workers, they're going out, they're joining these companies, they have the right to work and all the rest of it, but they are then allowing other people to use their accounts, basically, for a fraction of the cost, taking a percentage off them, and then these guys are working illegally and obviously earning way below the minimum wage. Lots of conversation about this, right, Ben Habib? But first and foremost, do you think it's ever realistic to entirely stop illegal working in this country?
Well, I think for those people who are outside the entitlement to work legally, of course, the only option is to work illegally, isn't it? And this is a great example of how illegal migration, or people who've arrived in the country illegally, so as not to offend anyone else on the other side of the debate, how they're forced and enticed and forced into taking these sort of black market jobs. The thing for me here is not so much the loss to the exchequer necessarily of tax money that the exchequer may otherwise have got. Actually, in your example, I don't think the exchequer would have lost anything because tax would have been paid by the person who was subcontracting their right to work. But
also, if you're really hardly ever working at all, I think you've got about 12,750 or something before you even pay a penny of tax anyway. So I wonder how much some of these people are earning and therefore how much tax we are losing anyway.
Well, why? Because they sub the 12,000.
No, I'm talking about if some people are on way below the minimum wage, for example, or even if they were just on minimum wage but not working that many hours, then they're going to be below the threshold.
I mean, they're outside the tax net anyway. But it's not the tax man that worries me so much. It's what's happening to the competitiveness of British industry. And I use industry in the broader sense, obviously. This is a service business.
What do you mean? In what way?
Well, because, I mean, the reason employers are able to do this, wish to do it, is because employing British citizens is expensive. And it's expensive because we have restrictive employment laws and we have very high taxes on the worker. So, we've got this crazy situation where there are 1.4 million job vacancies, but we've got 5.9 million people taking some universal credit, taking universal credit, and 2.4 million people not even attempting to get a job. That's twice as much as it was before lockdown. And there's a broken labour market at the moment, and that, for me, is more worrying. The other takeaway from this, though, just quickly before I finish, is to say that, these people are obviously without the same level of they do get benefits. Even people who've entered the country illegally get benefits, but they get much fewer benefits than British citizens do. And you see how they're motivated to work. And it's interesting, isn't it, that if you effectively lower the burden of regulation, lower taxation, take away the safety net, it pushes people into work, which is what's happened with these people. We don't like it. It's undercutting British workers, but it's a really good microcosm example of why deregulation, lower taxes and less benefits is better for the UK economy.
Scarlett?
Well, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I think the first thing is that what you're talking about is it's an interesting new way of illegal working, that you have people who are perfectly legal,
basically subcontracting.
So actually these people who then do nothing make money out of exploiting people who are illegal. I mean, obviously the tax man is not affected because these people take a lot of money and then give some of it to the people who are actually doing the work. So what it is it's about, and this is what's always happening with illegal working, is it's exploiting people who either work incredibly long hours or for incredibly low pay. I mean,
so what's the answer then?
There's never been an answer. I mean, the problem is, there's nothing new. This is a new scam, but there's nothing new about illegal working. I mean, it goes back probably to, certainly to the last century, right? I mean, so there's nothing new about people coming in, not being legal and working. So the only thing that one can do, which is actually what the government has been doing for decades, is you impose you impose as many restrictions as possible.
Well, I think that's the opposite, Scarlett, of what's needed, because the more restrictions you put in place, the more employment restrictions there are, the more loopholes and regulations there are to exploit. And that's why people move away from the regulated market, because it's far too regulated and far too highly taxed, to the black market.
The people who are on the black market are illegal immigrants, right? They're people who cannot work legally. This isn't about over-regulation. This is about people where this is the only way they can work.
Do you think they should be able to work legally, those people?
I think it depends where we're going.
So the people that are crossing the Channel now, languishing in four-star hotels and all the rest of it, not able to work, do you think they should be able to
I tell you what I think should be happening is what used to happen about 20 years ago, is that they should be processed within weeks.
That's not going to happen. That ship sailed long
gone.
No,
that ship hasn't sailed because
it has. You've got nearly 200,000 people sat on the backlog.
But so it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous what's happening at the moment, that we have people stuffed into hotels. They want to put them on barges. They want to put them here. Instead of actually spending that money on processing, and you send the people home, or you say, yes, you're refugees and you can stay. And it's that simple. And it is the only way. This way of sort of saying, oh, we're going to put them on barges is just another way of spending money. I mean, we have to.
But do they not need
to
be controlled and monitored until we understand who they are, what their beliefs are?
What I'm saying is it should be done properly. And at the moment, people are in, as you say, are in hotels very unhappily for the people who would like to be in the hotels, for the people who live near and the people in the hotels, because we've got an immigration system that does not work. And instead of actually putting the money into making it work, into having immigration officers who process the claims and then send people home who shouldn't be here, we mess about with everything else. Whether people should work or not, I mean, if you did it quickly, then there wouldn't be an issue.
See, I think Rishi Sunak is missing a trick, right? And if any of Rishi Sunak's advisors, or maybe Rishi himself, is watching Jubes and Co, they can have this idea for free on me, right? What I would do if I was Rishi Sunak is you've got all these people, you've got a massively economically inactive workforce, labour force, you've got loads of people that are not working for whatever reasons, you've got loads of people now that have left the world of work, I don't know, for whatever reason, they might have enough money, they don't want to work, whatever. I would say, you remember the Kitchener advert, your country needs you. Look at his face, everyone, right? And I'm coming out with a really good idea. If you could see the way that Ben Habib was looking at me as if to say, what is she talking about?
No,
right?
I'm concentrating, I'm taking it all on board.
What I'm talking about is the answer, right?
Yeah.
It's going to help the scenario that we're in. Yeah. So you do your country needs you advert, and what you do is say, right, we need to create this new, not like an administration army. So come back into the world of work. We're going to do a training course. We're going to have this massive crack team of people that can process these asylum claims. So you get your labour market working, you get your asylum backlog rapidly processed, and then off you go.
I think that's what I was saying. I completely agree. You told me this ship had sailed.
But
that is what we need to do. That's what we need to do. That's the only way we can do it.
I think viewers that watch my programme, I think that they would return back into maybe people have retired, maybe people don't want to work or don't need to work, whatever. I think there's people in this country that believe that immigration, or not immigration, but the channel crossings are so out of control now, they would apply their skills, their time and efforts into helping process this delay. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Why has no one come up with this idea? Because it's not rocket science, is it?
Well, I do agree that once people are here and they've made an asylum application, that should be dealt with as speedily as possible.
Yeah, but it's not being, that's my point.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
It takes literally years at the moment.
Yeah,
right.
It used not to. It used to be a hell of a lot faster.
It used to be 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
So then what changed? What changed?
Well, we've got incompetent government, haven't we? We've
Well,
got a Home
the other
Office
thing is
that
we
is not fit
sacked
for
a lot
purpose.
of civil servants to
Well, we
save
haven't.
money.
We've got 100,000 civil servants
They
added to the payroll.
An awful lot of other things. No,
there was 493,000
in
employed.
2010.
Yeah.
In 2010, we had austerity, and we got rid of a lot. We got rid of a lot of civil servants.
That's not right, Scarlett. 493,000 employed in the civil service in 2010. 590,000 30,000 now employed. The Tories have expanded it. But, of course, with expansion doesn't necessarily come efficiency.
But they also didn't... What they didn't do was they didn't expand the asylum claim. I mean, that's what we're talking about, a tiny bit of the civil service, right, that needs to be properly done, is that what we need is more people who know what they're doing, and they have to be trained, right?
Well, there you go. Let's do like a rallying call, the Asylum Admin Army. That is an idea we've come up with on Jubes & Co. Would you be up for it? Paid, of course. We wouldn't expect you to volunteer your time for free. Maybe that would fix it.